All right, guys, off we go. So we're gonna come to the mat. Let's lay nice and flat on our back with that little gap between our low back and the floor. Drawing the rib cage down and in so we feel the weight across the base of the shoulder blades and the base of the rib cage pressing down against the mat. We've got a nice neutral pelvis, so the alignment of our hips from right to left through to the pubic bone is nice and level and flush. And we're going to bring our right leg up to tabletop, holding that bend at the knee so we can work our single leg lowers. We're drawing our abdominals in, tightening up through the core, and we inhale to hinge at the hip. Foot taps the mat, and then we lift. Nice and smooth as we hinge, finding that extension of the leg from the hip as we zip up, draw up and in, and nice and slow as that leg rises. Shoulders are sliding down and back, collarbone is spreading wide, there's great length through the neck and the tops of the shoulders. And we'll hinge for one more with that right leg. We'll place the right foot back to the mat, slide those shoulders down and in, and left leg comes up to tabletop. We hinge at the hip once again. Smooth to lower, slow to lift. Feeling that tension running up the oblique on the outside there of the abdominal wall from hip to rib as that leg glides. And last two with that left leg, and we'll place the left foot flat to the mat. Arms are going to come nice and long down by our side. We're going to work a little bit of our pelvic tilt to warm up our low back. As we exhale, we tilt the hips back, draw pubic bone, tailbone up between the knees as we pull navel to spine, finding that flexion through the low back, reaching long with the arms. And then slow to articulate back to neutral, back towards the tailbone, reaching the arms nice and long. Exhale to tilt. Imprint and flex the low back, cinching up tight through the center line, and rolling through, back towards the tailbone. Exhale to tilt. Drawing in tight through the core. And on our next one, we'll move into our pelvic curl, that full bridge and lift of the hips. We're going to tilt the hips back. Imprint, press through the feet, squeeze through inner thighs, bridging and lifting the hips up, finding that height and still anchoring into the base of the shoulder blades. And on the next exhale, we'll articulate down, piece by piece. Each little vertebra, each segment rolling along the mat as we lift. And as we lower, ribs are knitted in, we're pressing the knees forward over the toes, feeling that stretch along the thigh. Moving along the back inch by inch, trying not to shrug the shoulders. So maybe every rep or two, let's readjust the alignment. Keeping the neck stretched long, the collarbone spread wide, and the shoulders reaching down towards our pockets. And last two. Returning our legs to tabletop position, little space from knee to knee. The hands come to the side of the knees and we fold and lift the head, neck, and chest. Right leg is going to reach forward as the right arm moves back overhead. and reset to the center. Alternate sides. Left arm, left leg reaches away from your center line, nice and long, straight and strong, pressing away with the arm and the leg as we draw the abdominals in. We want to keep that nice fold at the mid-ribs. Reaching away, anchoring our pockets. Finding and keeping that deep fold along the mid-ribs at the bra line. One more each side. And we'll draw knees to chest. Rock the shoulders, rock the head back to the mat. Legs come back to tabletop. Little space from leg to leg, arms open out to our T position. And we're going to alternate our leg changes. Right foot lowers, maintaining that knee bend. And we'll work that extension from leg to leg, hip to hip. Keeping the bend at the knee consistent as the leg moves. Drawing the abdominals in, feeling that even weight across the shoulder blades, across the back of the hips as we anchor into our mat. One more each side. And knees back to tabletop. Hands return to the knees. Press through inner thighs. We fold and lift the head, neck, and chest, drawing the abdominals deep to the back. And on the inhale, arms and legs move away from our center line. Arms circle around, back to that bent knee. Reaching up overhead, straight and long as we draw our core into the back. Keeping that tension to protect the low back as the legs move away. Pushing out, strong with those legs, straighter with the arms. Working that circle. Maintaining that chest lift. And last two. Hugging the knees in. And we'll reach the legs out nice and long across your mat. Arms come up overhead. Palms are faced in. And inhale, arms glide forward. Lifting the head, neck, and chest, chin to chest. We forward fold and curl. Rolling up, rounding the back, reaching out nice and long over the legs. And exhale to curl back, gliding those shoulders down, articulating along the back piece by piece. Reaching up strong overhead as we lengthen. And fold. Curling and reaching out, stretching out nice and long over the legs, gliding those shoulders down. And articulating back. Keep that tension running through the inner thighs, reaching out from the hip through the legs. The stronger and straighter the legs are, the more support you have for the movement as you curl up and curl back. And one more roll up. Curling all the way back, flat to the mat. Hands will interlace, bringing fingers and hands behind the head to support the head. Little forward fold of the elbows as we seat the rib cage in. And on the exhale, we fold the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest. Pausing for that breath And slow on the exhale to reset. Trying not to let the rib cage flare or the upper back arch up off of your mat. Reaching out long with the legs, squeezing through inner thighs. Finding that nice deep fold at the mid-ribs as we lift the head, neck, and chest. Keeping that movement out of the low back. It's a bit easier with that straight leg position to prevent that flexion, that movement in the pelvis. And on the next exhale, we fold, we lift and hold. In for our rotations, we twist over and onto that right shoulder blade, moving along the mid-ribs and transitioning over to the left. Rolling from underarm to underarm, shoulder blade to shoulder blade. Keeping the distance between the ribs and the hips the same as we move from side to side. Nice deep fold at the mid-ribs. Legs are reaching long. Drawing in through inner thigh, 2 more each side. And slow to reset back to the mat. Arms reach out to our T, palms up towards the ceiling. We're gonna float that right leg up off of the mat about 1 inch or 2 and exhale to bend the knee, draw the heel back towards the hip and inhale to lengthen and stretch the leg out long and strong across the mat. Exhale to bend the knee, draw heel towards the hip and slow to reach. Finding that flexion at the hip, at the knee as we draw the heel in, keeping the spine in neutral, that little gap at the small of the back. And we'll rest the right leg long and strong back to the floor, float the left leg, and exhale to bend the knee, draw the heel back towards the hip. Keeping the foot low, hovering along the mat as we draw the leg in and inhale to extend and lengthen the leg out. Bracing strong through the abdominals as the leg moves, stabilizing the back. Neck is long, collarbone is spreading wide. 1 more with the left side. And we extend and lengthen that left leg out onto the mat. Fingers once again interlace, bringing the hands behind the head. We return to our chest lift, holding and folded deep at the mid-ribs. And exhale, right leg lifts and lowers. Lengthening out of the hip. Reaching long towards the end of the mat as well as towards the ceiling as it lifts. Finding that nice deep fold at the mid-ribs, we'll rest the right leg back to the mat, re-engage, and exhale, left leg lifts. Pressing and stretching out long, reaching away from your center line. Trying to stretch the leg as long as you can. Folding deeper at the mid-ribs. We're drawing navel to spine. And slow to rest. Resetting the shoulders and the head. Exhale, reset that fold. Gliding those shoulders down. We're gonna float the right leg up and we're gonna work a clockwise circle. Nice circular motion of that right leg in the hip. Finding that stability through the pelvis, bracing stronger through the core, and resting that right leg. Folding deep, sliding those shoulders down, lengthen the neck, and left leg lifts. We go counterclockwise on that left side, coming up, out, and in. Planting that right hip as the left leg circles, engaging that right oblique, pressing down through that right hip. Trying not to roll to the left as the leg circles. And left leg rests. Reset the upper body. Arms come out to the side, out to that T position, drawing the ribs and the abdominals in. We float that right leg up. And inhale, right leg moves out to the side and back into center. Reaching out nice and long as we open. Last two. And right leg lowers. Bracing strong through the midline. Left leg lifts and we inhale to open and exhale back to center. One more. And slow to lower down. Arms come long down by our side. Let's bend the knees. We're going to turn to our small V position with our feet and our legs. Bringing our heels together in line with our tailbone. Returning to our bridge, we exhale to tilt the hips back, imprint, and begin to bridge and lift. Pressing the heels together as we lift the hips high. Squeezing through glutes as we send the knees forward over the toes. And exhale to curl and articulate down. Piece by piece, segment by segment, rolling along the spine all the way through, back towards the tailbone. Trying not to shrug the shoulders as we reset the hips in the back. Curling along the spine. Finding that clean movement. Anchoring into the bottom half of the shoulder blades, the higher the hips lift. One more. And legs come to tabletop. Arms reach up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling, and exhale. Arms flow forward. We lift the head, neck, and chest. Fold deep at the mid ribs, and inhale to reset. Exhale, fold. Keeping the hands off of your mat, the arms parallel to the floor to not roll the shoulder in too much or overstress the front of the neck. We lift the chest nice and high, fold deeper at the mid ribs, drawing the abdominals in. And slow to reset. Arms reach up towards the ceiling, palms turn in. We're going to place the right foot only back to the mat, working into our single leg bridge. We press into the right foot, lift the hips up, and slow to lower. You could work this as an articulation or as a strict bridge, keeping that neutral spine. We're sending that right knee forward towards the toes, bringing the hips up and through. Last two. And we'll change sides. Left foot down to the mat, just in line with your sit bone. Float that right leg to tabletop. And exhale to press and lift. Last two left leg bridges. Squeezing those shoulder blades down and in as you knit the rib cage tight. And legs come to tabletop. Arms reach up overhead, palms start facing the ceiling, and exhale. Arms flow forward, chest lifts. We send the legs out nice and long. And slow to reset. Last three. Hugging through inner thighs, reaching longer with the arms and the legs as you fold deep at the mid-ribs. And we'll hug the knees in towards the chest. Glide the shoulders down, lengthen the neck. And we'll rock from hip to hip. Coming back to center, folding at the mid-ribs. We'll grab the back of the thighs with a little momentum. We're going to curl up, working into our teaser prep balance. Floating the legs to tabletop as we glide the shoulders down. We hinge back, giving some space between chest and thighs. Gliding those shoulders down with the neck nice and long and arms open out. And we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feet lower. Butterfly pose, soles of the feet together. Rounding the back, dropping the head towards the foot, letting the knees fall out to the floor. One more breath. And we'll curl and restack, sitting up nice and tall. Knees are bent, feet are flat, arms are reaching out, and we're going to curl and roll back, all the way back to the floor. Arms come out to our T position, palms up towards the ceiling, bringing our knees to tabletop, drawing ribs and abs into our center line. And we inhale to bring the legs, the hips over to the right as we anchor that left shoulder. And exhale to draw back to center. Twisting through the mid-ribs, we anchor over onto that left hip, planting that right shoulder blade. And exhale through to center. We're working this rotation through the mid-ribs as we rock from side to side. Drawing the core in tight, reaching longer with the arms. Hugging through inner thighs. One more each side. Holding here at our center line, still arms out to a T on our inhale. Double feet, double legs lower towards the mat. And exhale back to tabletop. Working just that hinge at the hip. As we lower the feet, lower the legs towards the mat. Last 3. Knees hug in towards the chest. Reaching that left leg out nice and long, straight across the mat. And switch sides for that stretch. Right leg reaches out, left knee draws in. Gliding those shoulders down with the collarbone spreading wide. And we'll switch. Left leg straight and long on the mat. Knee is going to come to tabletop. We'll fold and lift the head, neck, and chest. Reach that right leg up nice and long for the ceiling. Grab the back of the leg towards the calf. And we're going to draw in for that double or triple pull and pulse. And then bend the knee. Draw in towards the chest and forehead. And leg switch. Right leg down. Bringing that left leg to tabletop, left leg extends, reach up for the calf, and that double or triple pulse of that left leg pulling in and stretching. We bend the knee, draw the knee towards the face as the right leg stretches out long. And we'll return both legs to tabletop, fold deeper at the mid-ribs, legs straighten up towards the ceiling. Left leg lowers as we reach for that right leg and we pulse for 1, 2, and switch for that hamstring pull. Alternating smoothly from side to side. One more each side. And we'll bring our knees in, drop the shoulders, drop the head back, reach for the back of the legs or for the feet. Draw the knees apart out towards the shoulders as we open the chest, spreading the collarbone wide, and we rock from hip to hip. Unwinding the legs, the left foot comes down, right leg crosses over the left thigh. We're moving into our figure 4 stretch. Keeping that little gap at the small of the back, and we lift the left leg to tabletop. Opening and stretching into the right hip. 2 more breaths. And we switch sides. Right foot down. Left ankle crosses that right leg and we bring the right leg up to tabletop. Two more breaths. And slow to unwind. Let's turn onto our left side. We're going to work a nice rotational stretch through the mid-ribs. We're gonna stack our legs. Nice side bend at the hip, at the knee. Left arm is gonna be out to a T position. We're gonna be palm over palm. So we're really stacked on this left side as best we can. You could even add a pillow or a rolled up towel between the knees to give yourself some space through the pelvis. Our goal is to keep the legs still and stacked. So as we rotate the upper body, there's no twist into the low back. That right arm comes up and we rotate and fall back. Rotating through the mid ribs. Reaching out nice and long. Holding that breath and slow to unwind. We'll go for 2 more rotations, holding each rotation for a few breaths. And again, sending that right leg slightly forward so we keep that alignment, that stack of the legs with the right arm, right shoulder rotating and twisting back. We're only rotating through the mid ribs, through the shoulders. And slow to unwind. We'll prop ourselves up onto our left forearm. Keep that bottom left leg bent. And we'll reach the right leg out and we'll do a few leg lifts. On that exhale, right leg lifts and lowers. Reaching out nice and long. Pulling the rib cage up and in, not to collapse towards the mat. 3, 2, 1. We'll spin over to that right side for that rotational stretch. Once again, stacking the legs and finding that T position, palm to palm, resting the head to the mat. We stack the legs, the left arm is going to reach up and back, and we're going to rotate through the mid ribs, keeping the legs stacked so that top left knee and leg does not slide back. Holding for a breath or 2, and slow to unwind. Finding that rotation through the mid ribs as we rotate through the chest back, keeping the hips stacked, the low back stable. And 1 more. We're going to come up onto that right forearm, elbow stacked right underneath the shoulder, pulling the rib cage up and in. We send that left leg out nice and long, and then we lift and lower. Keeping that alignment of the torso, that nice triangle space between the torso, the ribs, and the mat, so we're not falling towards the floor. One more. And we'll flip over face down. Coming onto our stomachs with legs nice and straight, legs reaching out long. Our arms are sent strong down our sides towards our ankle and our toes. And we inhale to lift the head, neck, and chest, engaging the glutes as we draw the abdominals in, and slow to lower. Inhale to lift, and slow to lower. Finding that fold at the mid ribs, just like we did for all of our rotational work. That's where we want the movement in our spine to come from, just below the shoulder blades. Fingers interlace, hands behind the back. We open the chest as we lift into extension. Keeping that pressure, that tension out of the small of our back. Last 3. Hands come to the chest, to the mat. Toes curl under. We're going to peel up and sit back towards the heels, stretching the arms out nice and long overhead, reaching the tailbone, the sacrum towards our heels and our toes. And exhale, round the back, curl the spine. We're going to walk the right foot, right leg forward. Short little lunge stretch to open up that left hip flexor for 3, 2, 1. And then we'll walk the right foot across the mat and move into our pigeon hip stretch. And we'll shift our body weight from side to side as we rock. Three, 2, 1. Let's slide that right leg back. Bring our left foot forward, dropping into that forward lunge stretch to open up the front of the right hip and thigh. 3, 2, 1. And then left foot walks across, and we drop the side of the leg down and shift our body weight from side to side as we move into that pigeon stretch to open that left hip. 3, 2, 1. Slide that leg back, align the knees, reach the arms up overhead. Let's walk the knees apart. We sit back towards the heels, stretching the back, dropping the chest through, feeling that stretch along the underarm. And exhale to tuck and curl. We're going to restack the spine, kneeling up nice and tall, nice and long. We'll sit to the heels, or you can sit down cross-legged, arms reach up overhead, fingers interlace, and we stretch up and over to the right. Keeping the hips planted to the heels or to your mat, we stretch up and over to the left, moving through the rib cage, up and over to the side. 1 more each side. And arms rest down by your side. All right, guys. Awesome work this morning. Thank you so much.